Coming up, we take a look at what's happening with the Peoplemover, which has been closed since March at Walt Disney World. Disney releases the lineup of shops and restaurants coming to their new Flamingo Crossings Town Center shopping village, and we take a look at a not-so-small barge that has just rolled out into the middle of the World Showcase Lagoon. All that and more on the way. This is Mickey Views News.
All who come to this happy place, welcome.
Now I'm the king of the swingers.
That's what EPCOT is, an experimental prototype community that will always be in a state of becoming.
First up in the news today, recently, Blog Mickey captured some workers up on the Peoplemover track in the daytime. One of them was even push testing a vehicle, and it reminded me I've still yet to talk to you guys about what's been going on with this attraction since it closed way back at the beginning of the year. It closed this past March, and its closure has nothing to do with the pandemic. This ride's closure in particular was due to another reason. There's been rumors that Disney has to replace the motors along the track. I've also heard stuff about them needing to do something to the vehicle or the roof of the track. There's all sorts of stories out there, but as you guys know, I do have some sources, so I can tell you with some level of confidence what I've been hearing and what the story has been here. 2020, like for a lot of other things, has not been the greatest for the Peoplemover. On January 2nd, 2020, the day after the year began, the attraction hit the news with a fire having been reported on the exit ramp of the attraction. In reality, this was just smoke. Guests smelled some burning rubber. They fixed the issue. We even saw workers cleaning the soot off the ramp, and then the ride continued operation. This year, the first few months of the year were extremely busy at Walt Disney World. I was there a lot, it being my first winter living in Florida, going to Walt Disney World, covering everything in person for you guys, and I was really expecting February to be very low crowds. You know, as someone from out of state, you know, you think times like February, September are usually very low crowds, right? But this year, it was extremely busy. The first 3 months of the year, it was absolutely packed in Walt Disney World, and the Peoplemover especially was having these huge waits where the line for the attraction far exceeded the switchbacks, those chains they have that, you know, can make up a queue over by the loading area, and it extended all the way over to the Carousel Progress, the line for the attraction. Not too long ago, the Peoplemover was a walk-on, but in recent years, as we know, it has gained major popularity, and it really started peaking at the beginning of this year. And I think that newfound popularity and demand the attraction has is a contributing factor to why the attraction ended up being down the rest of the year. The real reason the ride went down is because on February 28th, 2020, there was a crash where two trains of Peoplemover cars struck each other at a high enough rate of speed for Disney to decide to evacuate the attraction. The attraction started back up later in the day. They were able to space the trains back out. Everything was good. Then on March 8th, a similar incident occurred, and yet again, the guests were evacuated. The second time this happened, the March 8th occurrence, the ride did not reopen later in the day. It did not reopen after that. And then, of course, on March 15th, the entire resort closed. It turns out the Peoplemover cars bumping into each other, while pretty rare, it's always been something that's happened with this system. With the huge demand for the attraction these days and how accommodating Disney is of guests, the ride undergoes many e-stops throughout the day, emergency stops. And due to the momentum of the cars, unlike on other ride systems where you have braking systems, what happens is the linear induction motors just stop propelling the cars forward, so they actually end up drifting a little bit. There's a little bit of momentum. So if you compound that throughout the day, where you have cars that are completely stationary, they immediately stop. The ones that are in the loading area, the ones that are actually on the track, they are still drifting a little bit. So over time, what happens is all the cars can start to get closer and closer together. You can find occurrences of the cars bumping into each other or crashing, whatever word you want to use, throughout the history of the ride. Sometimes it's due to a power failure, but because of the nature of the attraction and how the cars glide along the track, even if there's nothing wrong with the attraction's infrastructure, if it's operated poorly, this type of thing can happen. This is why when that bump happened on February 28th, Disney was like, this is no big deal. They got the ride back up quick. The difference is now we live in the age of social media. And if you were on Twitter or Facebook at the time that this happened, the headlines were even outside of our little community. It hit actual regional news stations where they were saying ride cars crashed together at Walt Disney World, stuff like that. Obviously, PR-wise, Disney cannot have that. And they've been meaning to update the Peoplemover for a long time to to make the operation of the attraction smoother with the sort of demand that it receives these days. We know a lot more people go on the attraction than before. So after the second incident on March 8th, the increased pressure with the bad media headlines they got a week before, that pushed it over the edge where Disney said, okay, we're closing the attraction, we're going to refurbish it, we are going to update the ride operation system on this attraction. Then of course the pandemic happened, obviously Disney wasn't spending money then, so when the park reopened in July, you have guests showing up and saying, why isn't the Peoplemover open? Assuming it has something to do with the previous closure of the entire park. Really, that was when work was just getting underway on this project. And from what I understand, what I've heard from my sources, what Disney is doing here is taking out the old ride control system, which was manual, everything was run by the operator of the attraction, everything was analog, which with the amount of demand you have for the attraction these days, it can overwhelm the person operating the attraction, and instead developing and installing a new system that will remove human error from the operation of the attraction. So with this new system, the ride computer will ensure those very rare instances where the cars can actually collide with each other, that will not happen ever again. Of course, this is great for Disney because it means no possibility of surprise national news headlines saying Peoplemover crash, and also it means a more efficient operation of an attraction which has recently gained widespread popularity. Really all we're waiting for as far as this attraction getting back up and running, as I understand it, is Disney getting this new system done. And we know Disney's been testing the new system, the push testing they're doing right now on the track. My theory there is what they're doing is testing the new system to make sure it can track the vehicles around the entirety of the Peoplemover track. So the computer knows where all the cars are. So that's why they have that worker that is moving that one ride car over the linear induction motors, over the sensors, and on the walkie saying, this is where I am, this is where I am, so they can verify it lines up with the new controls, with the new system operation. So all this is to say, they're just doing some operational improvements here. Blog Mickey actually captured a photo of a panel being removed from the track in the load area, where you can actually see below there how the linear induction motors are actually connected and everything. Not sure what exactly they're doing there. I wonder if they're going to put new sensors along the track, if they needed to do that, or if they were just able to use the existing infrastructure to make the new system work. I think they're just using the old infrastructure, and now it's just being controlled by a new system, right? Something that's updated. It's very interesting with these old attractions. They're using very old technology, like in the case of the Carousel Progress. Imagineering's been wanting to update the Carousel Progress for so long. The thing with it is it costs a lot of money because you have to replace a lot of the technology. A lot of the technology from that attraction is from the 1964-65 New York World's Fair. So it's very hard to contend with, to work with. Really what they have to do is actually go in and entirely replace those different systems when they want to do anything with the attraction. So it can actually take a lot of work, and that might be the reason that it's taken a while for Disney to actually create this new system for the Peoplemover. All of this is to say, if you were concerned about the Peoplemover needing new infrastructure, that there's going to be some expensive fix that we're waiting on, where Disney decides not to spend $100 million in the middle of what we're in right now, right? You know, and update the ride track, you know, with new motors and everything like that, and instead it just becomes abandoned like Disneyland, there's no need to fear. There really is nothing wrong with the attraction itself. It's the operation of the attraction making it run more smoothly. Disney is after here, which has benefits for both Disney on the PR front as well as on the efficiency front, and it also helps us guests on the efficiency front with the faster loading, less downtime, shorter lines, things like that. So that's what's going on with the Peoplemover. As far as when the Peoplemover will return, I couldn't tell you for sure, but given how busy the parks have been lately, I'm expecting for us, like last year, to see some pretty big crowds in January and February and March of this coming year. There's definitely strong incentive on Disney's end to get this ride back open to increase ride capacity in the Magic Kingdom. So perhaps the ride which went offline for this refurbishment on March 8th, 2020, it could very well be back open with some really nice new operational updates within a year of that original closure before March 8th, 2021. That's my hope there. Jumping out of the Magic Kingdom and going over to EPCOT, another news story that's really been occupying the minds of fans has been the first of 5 Harmonious barges has made its way out into the middle of the World Showcase Lagoon permanently. This is the new nighttime spectacular coming to the park, and it's important to stress here, this isn't like Illuminations where the barges move in sometime in the afternoon and then after they get taken backstage, you know, or in the case of the Globe, it's parked nicely, you know, off to the side next to the America Gardens Theater. No, these barges for this show are not moving. Anything that needs to be put on those barges in the middle of the World Showcase Lagoon, the people will actually travel to the barges in the middle and do that work there. And it's easy to see why. These barges are massive, and this LED screen barge, which has this rotating arm inside of it, it isn't even the biggest one. What you're going to have is you're going to have 4 of this type of barge that will occupy the lagoon in a 4-corner pattern. So that way there's always a screen that is close to you no matter where you are around the World Showcase. And then in the middle, you're going to have this enormous circular water projection screen, which is so tall, it actually peaks above the tree line of Central Florida, where from the Skyliner, you can see the top of that circular gate sticking up over the tree line at Walt Disney World, which is just wild. Even before the lockdowns, we were hearing how Harmonious had ballooned in costs and how it had taken up the entire contingency budget of the EPCOT overhaul, and then some. Apparently, it started eating into the Spaceship Earth update budget. Those are some of the rumors we were hearing at the time. And looking at the sheer scale and technical ability of these barges, I think we can see why. Looking at this first barge here, since these massive, ugly screens are going to be sitting in the middle of the World Showcase Lagoon all day, this added another layer of complexity to the project, with the project team having to make these pieces used for a fireworks show 4.5% of the day into a fountain the other 95.5% of the day. And here you can see concept art of what those barges should look like during the day. They're going to become fountains. Many weeks ago, I tweeted out a warning saying, hey, get photos of the World Showcase unobstructed while you can. And now here we are, and the barges are starting to head out. Honestly, I don't like these barges obstructing the views, but I really think the issue here is really just those LED screens that are off. They just look really bad in the daytime. The middle barge, even though it's the biggest one, it's huge. It's a water screen. So it's just a hollow circular gate. So it really shouldn't look that bad in the middle there where it obstructs views of anything. You should be able to see right through it. Really, the trick here is going to be covering up the screens. Maybe have the screens on or something, I guess they're going to do like a water curtain trying to cover up the screens. You can actually see the nozzles where the water is going to be coming out of for that fountain effect on the barge itself. You've got to do something having those screens in the middle of the lagoon all day. Hopefully the new fountain setup they've got on these barges will look like it does in the concept art and really hide all the show tech well. Still no ETA on when we'll be seeing nighttime spectaculars return to Walt Disney World. I think the holdup with bringing back the fireworks is they're expensive. Every day Disney isn't expected to do a fireworks show is another day that they don't have to spend money on fireworks, and they do make slightly better margins in the parks as a result. We know the fireworks are expensive. Even when Disney buys everything in bulk, it does cost them money on a day-to-day basis. Disney does projections on the castle right now for the holiday season here in the Magic Kingdom, where tons of guests are crowding around the hub. Disney's raised capacity in the parks to where it's not actually physically possible to do the physical distancing stuff right. It's just simply not something you can do. All that policy really does is makes the lines for attractions way longer, where you have to go get in line for the Haunted Mansion way over by Pecos Bills and crazy stuff like that. And I don't mean that to say like, oh, Disney's doing a bad job or anything like that. What I'm saying is there's nothing from a health or policy perspective that's stopping Disney from bringing back fireworks, especially in Epcot where you have literally miles of viewing area around the lagoon. It's really a question of when Disney financially decides, hey, we're going to start doing this again. I really think that's like the thing that is really the make or break for when we're going to see fireworks return. It's when Disney says, okay, we're willing to spend the money on it, more so than it is anything, related to policy or health or anything like that. Because the thing with the physical distancing stuff is, people physical distance in the lines for attractions, but once you're out of the line for the attraction, once you're in the guest pathways and everything, everyone's very close to each other, because Disney, the way they've been doing the reservations, they're really letting a lot of people into the parks. The capacity is pretty high. It's pretty much back to normal. So you have a lot of people moving around the parks and things like that. So to say like the physical distancing stuff makes it so that Disney cannot do fireworks, especially in the case of Epcot, I do not think that's the case. And I think we could all agree with the Magic Kingdom and Epcot, they really are not the same without that nighttime entertainment. So hopefully we'll see fireworks back soon. I think that'd be awesome. Harmonious does look to be well on its way, and I think we're going to see some more barges move out soon. So we'll keep you up to date on that. Moving west from Epcot, if you go west down Buena Vista Drive, this brings you to Western Way, and if you turn onto that, that brings you behind the Animal Kingdom. You can actually see the back of Expedition Everest on that road, which is pretty cool. One time I was part of a VIP tour, and we actually entered the Animal Kingdom from that back way, which was pretty awesome. Anyways, if you proceed down Western Way, you'll pass the newly completed Walt Disney World 50th Anniversary Archway. This is the first one that's been completed. It is on Western Way. As you can see in the photos here, this is what it looks like completed. It looks really nice. I really wish they did the cobblestone texturing like they have in the concept art. In real life, it's just columns that are different solid gray colors, which really doesn't look the best. But when Disney first announced those new archways, I even pointed that out. I said, I really hope they make that 3D and texture it so it looks good, but they're probably just going to paint it solid colors, and that's exactly what happened. But besides that small thing, I really think this new design does look really clean. Let me know what you guys think. As you pass past the archway, you might think, okay, now I'm out of Walt Disney World property. But actually, Disney's property continues to extend past the archway for a good while in that direction. And if you keep going, you'll end up at this big expanse surrounded by some newly developed hotels. And this, my friends, is a project that is finally taking off after about 20 years of Disney trying to do it. It is called Town Center at Flamingo Crossings. If you go back to the 2000s, Disney had all the entrances for this new shopping area already set up. They were even doing a little bit of theming on each of them off to each side. But it wasn't until the 2010s that hotels started popping up around this empty plot of land. And the reason why there was that halt in the 2000s was because of the housing market crash. This area is going to be anchored by a Target on Walt Disney World property, and surrounding it will not be the stuff that you see in Disney Springs where it's more high-end. It's more going to be the everyday type shopping and dining you see at a strip mall, where it'll be things that are a huge convenience for those staying at the surrounding hotels. You'll be able to get things cheap. Disney just announced more tenants for the 200,000 square foot retail hub, including a Wendy's, a Five Below store, a Domino's, Ellie Lou's Brews and Barbecue, a Firehouse Subs, Persimmon Hollow Brewing Company, Pyology Pizzeria, a Japanese barbecue, and a UPS store. The newly announced stores and restaurants will be joining a slew of others. We already mentioned the main destination, the new Target. Also, there's going to be a PDQ, which is a local chicken place that is extremely similar to Chicken Guy in Disney Springs, where you have some pretty ordinary chicken entrees, but they have all these different sauces you can try. They also have some pretty good milkshakes, things like that. I think that'll definitely be a hit. There's also a Five Guys coming to the location, a Ben & Jerry's, and a Dunkin', which a lot of Northeasterners will like because right now, of course, on property, your coffee choices are Starbucks or Joffrey's. There's also a Walgreens already under construction on an out parcel. And you've been seeing the layout here and the two pieces of concept art Disney gave us is what it's going to look like. I've been very excited about the concept of Walt Disney World getting a lot of this stuff where previously you had to go outside of the Disney bubble to get to it. You know, things like a Target, things like these different sort of strip mall type locations. This is really going to change the game having this stuff on property, and it's going to be great for people staying in the area. I wonder if Disney will do bus service to Flamingo Crossings like they do to Disney Springs, so guests that are staying on property at their hotels without cars can hop over and grab some of this stuff. I guess you could do rideshare over there too. The other thing I wonder if there'll be inflated prices at this new shopping area due to its location. You may know in Disney Springs, Disney has a revenue share agreement with a lot of the merchants there where they actually have to give some of their profits to Disney as part of the deal. It's not just that they pay rent, they also actually have to pay part of their profits to Disney. At least some of the tenants that have worked in Disney Springs and had businesses there, that's what they've said in the past. So if Disney did that with Flamingo Crossings, you can imagine tenants would probably end up charging more to make the same margins that they do elsewhere, or perhaps they're willing to accept less profit in exchange for higher volume and having that prime location on property. You can also stay at Flamingo Crossings. There are two Marriotts that are already open that have been running for a while and have very good reviews. Also Marriott, you have a Fairfield and a Residence Inn on the way, and also for Hilton properties, there's a Homewood Suites, a Hampton, and a Home 2 Suites on the way, and all those are really wrapping up work. A lot of them, they're already almost done building those new hotels, so that's pretty awesome. So I wanted to talk about this area because right now, there really isn't a whole lot as far as new areas being added to Walt Disney World. The Reflections Resort by Bay Lake was canceled. I think we're probably further from the prospect of a fifth park than ever before, given the current situation. But here, we've got a whole new shopping and dining complex that is coming to Walt Disney World that a lot of people don't know about, and it's just across from the Walt Disney World Archway, across Toll Road 429 on Walt Disney World property, and it is coming together very quickly. Also, something else I wanted to add here, Disney is also wrapping up work on this huge new college program housing complex right next to Town Center at Flamingo Crossings. So I think part of the business model here includes the thousands of cast members that will be living right down the street. Now they're going to have all the shopping and dining close by rather than having to drive further to go elsewhere. I think in a few years' time, this Flamingo Crossings area is going to be very busy. For so long, Disney's had big plans for this field of grass, a part of property that gets virtually no traffic ever. Soon, it's going to be a very cool spot to check out and get whatever you need for your vacation. So that's the biggest news in the world of Disney right now. Be sure to subscribe to those notifications on so you don't miss anything as we wait to see on when Ratatouille is going to open in EPCOT, when the Peoplemover will be back online, when fireworks will return. All these things could be happening pretty soon, and I'm very excited for all that. I'm really hoping we see those things happen soon. I haven't been making news videos the last few weeks because there really has not been a whole lot to talk about as far as Walt Disney World news. Of course, anytime Disney drops anything, Walt Disney World news news related that's relevant and worth talking about, I'm right here to bring it for you guys. But that really hasn't been the case the last few weeks. There really hasn't been a whole lot going on. Disney did announce at their Investor Day a bunch of stuff for Disney Plus, a bunch of new Disney Plus shows. I actually still haven't watched the second season of The Mandalorian. I think the last episode of the new season just came out, so I think I'll finally get my Disney Plus membership going for a month there and check out everything I've missed. I think the last time I was subscribed was pretty much a year ago, or right after the service started, so I'm excited to check that stuff out. The reason there haven't been any in-park videos this month is because I'm spending some time with my family and friends here in Georgia for Thanksgiving and Christmas, hence no EPCOT construction vlog this month. My plan right now is to head back down to the Mickey V's Magic Studio in Florida and hit the ground running in the new year with content for you guys in person in the parks. I was thinking of going to EPCOT for New Year's Eve, but as we discussed in this video, Disney isn't doing fireworks, and I was looking at the park times for New Year's itself, and the parks aren't even open for the actual new year. Like EPCOT, it closes at 10 p.m. on New Year's Eve, so New Year's this year at Disney is going to be very casual. Nothing's actually even open or anything special really isn't even going on for December 31st or January 1st. It'll probably still be very busy because you have a lot of people down in Walt Disney World for the holidays, but there's really nothing special this year. So I'll probably stay here for New Year's and then head down right after that back to Florida. And once I do head back down to Florida, I think the first thing I'll do is get that January 2021 EPCOT construction tour happening for you guys, seeing the latest work. They're finally demolishing that half of Innoventions East that's just been sitting there. Also, another thing I was thinking about the other day, I haven't been to the Satuli Canteen for a really long time, like since September or October. And as you guys probably know, I really love that counter service location in Pandora in the Animal Kingdom. That is a great restaurant. I might miss the special peppermint cheesecake they do once a year. They only do it for like a week and a half every year at the end of December, where they do like a special peppermint cheesecake. There's Satuli Canteen. That would be pretty awesome. So that's all for me. We're going to be hitting the ground running going into 2021. If we get any news between now and then, I'll be right here to bring it for you guys. So be sure to subscribe to those notifications on. Thank you guys so much for watching. From the Mickey V's Magic Studio, this is Brayden. I'll talk to you soon. Have a magical day.